My name is Humanity. I've lived in the town of Here and Now all my life. It's not a bad place. Autumn is my favourite time of year. It's beautiful when the leaves all change colour, the air is a little bit crisp and the river sits under a blanket of fog in the morning. Whether it was curiosity or just boredom that brought on the decision, one day I set out to discover what life was like on the outside of Here and Now. I had heard of a place called Eternity, and that was rumoured to be about a week's travel down the river, so I decided to try and find it for myself. The river is called Life. It's safe enough to travel, but between Here and Now and Eternity, it does have its fair share of rapids, rocks, twists and turns to be aware of. I left early the next morning. Everything was going to plan. The weather was fine and the water was calm. I travelled for a few days when I came to an island in the middle of the river. Standing on the shore of the island was a lone man. I thought that he might be stranded, so I stopped to see if he needed my help. As I stepped out of the boat, I introduced myself and asked if I could help him. He said his name was Love and that he had been expecting me. He told me that he was fine, didn't need my help, but said I needed his, so invited me to sit down and talk with him. It was getting dark, so I sat down on a log near the fire he had already started. Love was an interesting person, different than anyone I'd ever met. Something in the tone of his voice assured me that his wisdom was something beyond what I have known before. After exchanging life stories and laughs for a while, he congratulated me on making it this far. He told me of sunken boats and wrecks along the way. He told stories of a dangerous rapid the locals called Pride that had been the doom of many travellers. He spoke of bends in the river named Fame and Riches that had lurked unknowing passers-by into their deceptive jaws only to leave them capsized and struggling to stay afloat. I must say, I was surprised to hear of the dangers I had passed without even realising that they were there. I let out a nervous chuckle and told him that I guessed if I made it this far on my own, I should be able to make it the rest of my way to Eternity without a worry. With that, his jovial face suddenly turned solemn. The look in his eyes erased what measure of confidence I had displayed in my own abilities. He told me that I could make it, but I would have to carefully follow his instructions. He said that many people had come this way, but had not heeded his warnings and had ended up in the lost, tangled mess of gossip, hate and envy, all hazards that lay just down the river. He told me about a fork in the river. Most travellers would take the wide channel to the left, but I was to take the narrower channel to the right. He said the channel would be marked for sign. It was called the Way, and it would bend and weave, taking me right to the place where I wanted to go. He said there were places I would pass while travelling along the way called joy, peace, self-control, hope and generosity that would all be signs to assure me that I was headed in the right direction. In what seemed like no more than a moment, darkness was leaving as quickly as it had come. I was grateful for the wisdom from my new friend, but time was of the essence, so I told him I must be on my way. As I climbed into my boat to proceed on my journey, Love came up closely and handed me a gift. It was an anchor, but not just any anchor, it was his very own. It was called the Word. He told me that whenever a storm would rise, the Word would hold me in place and keep me safe. I thanked him for the gift and his help and pushed off into the river. Love called out from the shore and reminded me one last time about the way. He showed me that I had everything I needed to complete the journey well. As I drifted away from the island, the near silent rhythm of my paddling was broken by the sound of Love's voice echoing across the water. Along the way, whenever you need help, I will be there to guide you. I will never leave you alone. I knew then that, had I not met Love, I would have been lost. Without the word he had given me, the storms ahead would have undoubtedly caused my little boat to sink. Before I even knew that I needed rescuing, Love had rescued me. Love had saved me.